welcome back to the Foxfire Farmhouse. We are glad that you are here with us today.
Quite glad.
Bit of a cold snap that's come through here in the farmhouse.
Very cold.
Yep, so it's chilly. The door is frozen shut. We can't get out.
Nope.
We're stuck. And so since we can't do any farming of the Foxfire, we thought we would just go ahead and sit down and record some episodes.
Might as well.
If the fire gets a little too low, we'll have to stop and move on to the next one.
The real danger will be that we can't make any more coffee.
Yeah.
That's the danger.
That will kill us.
That will kill us.
Yep.
Will be the death of us.
Yep. If only we can get the old lady in the corner to make us another fresh pot of coffee.
Yeah.
She won't do anything for us.
No, she won't.
No, she just snores and sleeps over in the corner. Tells us to be quiet. Pipe down over there. Well, this is another week at the farmhouse, and with another week at the farmhouse comes more news about the movies.
All the news.
So what are we going to talk? We are not a news service, so we're not going to provide people the news, but we can comment on news. So what news should we comment on today?
Well, fairly thematic. BioShock is getting its own film adaptation. Long awaited. Very overdue. Very vague on what it will be about, other than it will be based around the BioShock franchise. So, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Previously, what was the filmmaker that was supposed to do
Gore
it?
Verbinski is slated. The director of the first Pirates of the Caribbean,
Rango, Lone Ranger.
Yep,
underrated classic. That's a good one.
he was the one who was slated to do it, and I don't know what all those production troubles were, but it's been in the works for a long time and just didn't happen.
Yeah, the first BioShock came out a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know that date, but I don't.
The first BioShock game? Is that what you're saying? 2007.
2007? Really?
2007 was when the first BioShock came out.
Yeah. There you go. That's I think that's pre Modern Warfare 1. Or the first Modern Warfare.
It's one of the first
It definitely plays like that. Plays a little more clunky than what Call of Duty came out with.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks like they're eyeing Chris Evans for the lead. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
He'd be a good he has that he can do that grizzly type personality, troubled but
virtuous.
Yeah. Right. Rises above. So
got that Snowpiercer vibe going.
Yeah, there you
I imagine he'll wear a beanie and grow a beard for this role. Yeah. Regardless, grow a beard. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Cool. Well, we'll be here when BioShock comes out.
Indeed, we will.
Cool things.
So what have you been finding cool this week?
Well, this week has been filled with much preparation for a D&D session. D&D. Oh no, D&D. Yeah, anyway, I'm excited for it. I've been playing D&D for quite a long time, dungeon mastering. So I build the worlds, for those who don't know. The dungeon master the players play their own characters, and the dungeon master plays everybody else. So I get to play all of your NPCs and little ruffians running around, enemies, bad guys, big bad guys, and design the world, the dungeons, everything that you guys are running through. So
nice.
It's like you guys are playing around in the author's mind.
That's pretty sweet.
It's a lot of fun.
It's like an active story.
Yeah.
It's playing out in real time.
Yeah. I'm just relying on some pre-work I'm doing in the Forgotten Realms. If you ever read any of the Legend of Drizzt books.
No, huh?
Yeah. Really good books. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet.
Looking forward to having
this will be my first D&D session ever.
Josh is joining.
No.
I've corrupted another one.
Yeah. What will my wife say when I come back? Will I be the same man?
Yeah, but much nerdier. Should be like, that's really nerdy. You're gonna think it's so cool though,
awesome.
And I'll fool you.
Sweet.
You'll come back to play more.
Speaking of D&D,
yeah,
totally unrelated. My thing that's cool this week is this pouch of D&D tokens. So for those of you watching on YouTube and those of you here on the podcast, I'll shake the coinage. So we bought these D&D tokens because we wanted it. We just recently got a PlayStation. My son obviously loves play. I say obviously. I think most boys love playing PlayStations or
quite obvious.
Xbox or things like that. So
Playing any form of game.
yeah, I mean that was me as a kid. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't take the modern technology. I could be enthralled with Zelda or anything. So as long as there's a good story and something going on that's fun mechanics, I'm good. I'm in.
Boys will be found.
So he's obviously wanting to play, and we're trying to figure out. We've been restricting it to the weekends, but we're like, okay, we want to leverage this desire to play into getting him to do other things, primarily reading. So he's good at he knows how to read, obviously, and he's good at reading, but he just doesn't want to sit down and do it. So we decided one of the ways that we can motivate him to do it is by paying him tokens. So our system here it is of the system hack is that we pay him one of these gold tokens for 2 pages. Yeah. And they have to be a book approved by us, which is primarily like a chapter book.
So he can't read like his little sister's book.
No, that's not gonna cut it.
On it.
And then each of the tokens is 5 minutes on the PlayStation.
Oh,
and then he can cash it. Now he can still only cash it in on the weekends, so he's limited in that way. But so I bought a pouch of 50 tokens.
Like you're running around with pesos over there with
how
much those are worth.
And so
can I have a copper, sir? 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Take it. So we have these ready.
That's good.
Week number 1, he's like, I'm gonna get all of them. And we're like, oh, you're gonna get wow,
He's
sweet, good, that's awesome. And then we're like, well, but by Saturday you're gonna want to play. You're gonna want to spend some of those. He's like, no, I'm gonna wait till I have all of them. And then it turns out he read like nuts and got all of 50 tokens that we had for this weekend. So now he's got a lot.
Lesson in economics for you.
Yeah. So this kid is highly motivated.
Good. He's
now
learning to save his
and
money
he's really
too.
enjoying the reading.
Yeah.
So he started with Hank the Cowdog.
Oh yeah.
And now he went on to his next one. And so this week, instead of like taking a week and a couple days to finish Hank the Cowdog, he did it in like 3. So anyway, now we ordered more bags of tokens. Yeah. And currently this is his bag actually.
You have to say, sorry, there was a recession and / depression, and these are only worth
coins
1
aren't worth
minute
as
now.
much. They're not worth as much as
No.
they used to be.
Yeah.
We're gonna teach him some more economics lessons. But right now he has 102 of these things. So I don't know if that's a parent win or a parent fail.
Oh my gosh. Man,
so that's a lot. That's 500 minutes worth of PlayStation time this weekend.
That's good.
So he's gonna, he's
good. I mean, most kids play that daily, in our culture.
So we'll see. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with it. But So anyway, if you're a parent and you're trying to motivate your kid, that's an idea. Good. Cash that one away.
And now our feature presentation.
Well, speaking of video games, we are getting on into the topic of today, which is talking about BioShock Infinite. We have mentioned this before a couple times on the program, and we are going to today talk about the story and the game and just kind of all of it. It's a big, complicated game. So how about you start by just describing, maybe putting BioShock Infinite in context with the movie, with the BioShock and BioShock 2, just kind of the general world.
So it works more like it's a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, it works in like a way that like
it's going to be a spoilers.
This is a spoiler discussion of the game. It's like if you really, really want to get it, like then go play it. But this game's been out for a while, so
don't blame us.
Basically, it takes place within the multiverse of the BioShock universe, and the first 2 games are linear, and they follow a story that takes place in the same world. And the first game, the implications that happen there happen in the second game. And those games take place in Rapture, which is a city underwater, built by like a very it's like turn of the century, I guess, to give you a setting of the time. So like it's that Private Eye, Walther kind of running around vibe. You got big band music playing,
and stuff like that.
Prohibition era. So there's a lot of like that kind of swing kind of vibe to it. But anyway, the first game takes place in Rapture City underwater, and there's a lot of debauchery and things that happen there that lead to the downfall of that city. And this game takes place in a city in the sky, in a city called Columbia. Yeah, the floating city that has seceded from the United States of America, and but it promises to be like what America should have been, and it holds to some values pretty strongly that we'll start discussing. But anyway,
yeah. So it came out in 2013. This is pre-Trump, right? So it would sound very Trumpish to begin talking about because it is kind of a "Make America Great Again" style world that has been created.
Yeah, it's like a liberal's nightmare of 2021.
Yeah, exactly. It's led by a man named I forget his first name, but is it Jeffrey?
It's Zachary Comstock.
Zachary Comstock.
Yeah,
and he's the one who has kind of
like
created this world. Yeah. So everyone looks to him for guidance for how everything's supposed to be. Yep. He kind of has an Abraham Lincoln vibe to him.
He's got a great white beard, like a Moses.
Combine Lincoln and Charlton Heston from the Ten Commandments, and that's kind of who you have.
He's a larger than life kind of prophet, holy figure. He speaks in very biblical kind of language, this grand like these and thous and. Very KJV,
like an old timey preacher.
Like one of those like old like revivalists. I think that's a good good way to think about it.
And there are revivalists and preachers in this world, so it's not it's also present there. So. So you've got this. So the game starts and you are launched. You are down on Earth and are told that you got to bring back this girl to wipe away the dead.
Yep.
And that's the goal. So you don't know what the debt is. You don't know what's going on. You are Booker DeWitt.
Yep.
And you are being
a rowboat towards a stormy lighthouse.
Yep. And you get in the lighthouse.
Lighthouse is important.
You get shot up into the air.
Yep.
You get shot up into the air into the city of Columbia.
Playing old time religion while you're walking through this.
Exactly.
This lighthouse.
Yeah. And so then when you get up there. You've got more music. I think "May the Circle Be Unbroken" is the song that's like playing when you burst into the clouds and can kind of see the city for the first time. And then you connect to the city, and the only way to get into the city. Anyway, well, let's just give the full description first. So basically, you're going throughout the city trying to find Elizabeth. Things are not as they appear. You've got to fight your way through. You are being called the false prophet, the one who is leading the lamb of Elizabeth away from the fold, and so you've got to
it's the daughter of the leader of the town.
Yeah, so Elizabeth is actually Comstock's daughter, is what he's proclaiming, and so DeWitt's trying to take her away.
Yeah,
and so your goal is to get her away. And at first she starts off. I think someone described it when I was reading as like she's the MacGuffin in the beginning.
Yeah,
but then she turns into far more than the MacGuffin and becomes kind of a foil and a main. Antagonist, protagonist, kind of a mix of everything.
Yeah, she's been sheltered and kind of fed the lies of the prophet for like her whole life and been reading books, but still wants something more than the world that she's in. Yeah, and she can see that through her superpowers, which create tears in reality.
Yeah, so she's got this.
This is a crazy story for someone who hasn't never heard this.
So you just got to play the game in order to get the commentary we're about to give. You most likely have to play the game. I think there's some commentary that we're going to give that you'll find interesting.
Yeah.
But if you want to understand the story, you're going to have to go do some reading and watch the game or play the game because it's just bonkers how much stuff gets packed into this thing.
Deep world with a rich lore base.
Yeah. So Elizabeth has these powers that end up assisting DeWitt in her trying to escape. She wants to escape. He wants to escape. He's trying to bring her back, and then things start going wild. And there's this uprising of the Vox Populi, who are this basically populist uprising against Comstock. And these two factions back and forth, Comstock and the established order, and then
the Vox Populi.
So they're always at each other's throats in different ways because as you go through the tears, things change. You get into alternate realities where things are different, and it just goes back and forth, and you end up losing track of where you are and why there's things here, and it's a mess.
It's crazy. I think a good way to like look at it from like a big scope of like what I think that they're trying to picture in the setting is just like kind of like this idea of the directions that America could go in, especially around the time of the Civil War, because like you have all these battles that take place around that time, and then the clashing of ideas of like this like nationalism and versus like the states, and then the people, like what's the role of the people in the industrial revolutions happening at the same time. And so there's a lot of ideas as to like, who is America? Who are the people? What is their role in the society, and how does technology impact that? It's kind of a big overbreadth of it. And they kind of present these ideas at war with each other. The idea of like this mythic idea of what America is, of what it was, of like this almost like creating a religion around patriotism, with its own eschatology, with its own glories and doctrines, and versus a vox populi, who literally means the God out of the people, and their idea of the fact that the people matter, because this grand world is happening at the expense of the people, and there's a lot of horrible racism happening, and justified by horrible just horrible religious reasons, which is, I guess we need to define kind of a religion, I guess, in terms of this game. Like how do you come at like Comstock? Like, how would you describe Comstock's religion? Because the city is pretty, almost very proselyte, kind of like, very zealous, and they pray to Abraham Lincoln, and or not to Abraham Lincoln. They hate Abraham Lincoln in this guy.
Yes, right.
They love George Washington, Ben Franklin, and Jefferson. Yep. And they hate Lincoln because he was trying to emancipate the slaves.
He
and
was kind of the vox populi's figurehead in their mind, in the vox populi's mind,
because he gave more power to the people.
Yeah. I don't know what I would say his religion is, other than it probably most easily maps onto some kind of some kind of nationalistic, racist, like a xenophobic or approach. Like it's something along those lines. Yeah. So I don't know that any of those. I don't know what religion would most.
Maybe it's more like a dictatorship disguised as a theocracy. Like he's making the claim to like he's being led by like an angel to do these things, but in the end, it's just a grab for power.
It ends up feeling more like, I mean, even him describing himself as a prophet. What at least practically ends up happening is that he has a word from God that is absolutely unverifiable. So that, I mean, this is how I would see cults like Jehovah's Witness or the Mormons, where then you get one leader, or even I guess Islam could perhaps be in the same category in regards to what I'm talking about with someone who has a vision that's unverifiable, is that they have some piece of knowledge that they got from a vision with a god or something,
an angel or something.
Or even like Buddhism, this kind of like there was the transcending of the natural, or there was some experience that the leader had that then becomes the defining revelation upon which the rest of the religion is built. Yeah. And I think that that's what happens with Comstock, is that he establishes himself as that kind of leader, and there is nothing that you can do you can't show him wrong. You can't prove him wrong, because he is depending on his own standard of revelation, which what happens is that he becomes the God. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Eternals, that he becomes the standard of good, the standard of revelation, right? So he's not the one giving the revelation, he says, but he's the one who decides what is and isn't. And if it is, then you can't go against it, and he will squash your world. So I think that's how that would be the only like religious approach I would take, or see the way I would see it
more
compared to others.
More defined as like a governmental cult.
He's definitely pushing that kind of merger of faith and politics in a way that there is no line between them. There are no circles of authority where the church has its own responsibility and sphere of influence that is sovereign, and the state has their own that is sovereign. There is actually not that. They are both combined into one.
It's definitely an interesting thing to traipse through in terms of what they're doing.
Yeah, so there's, I don't know, in terms of storytelling, so this podcast is mostly about storytelling with digital media. First of all, what do you think is how are video game stories, different or alike, or how do you categorize them in terms of a story? Because they're not an efficient storytelling method, right? Like I've been playing BioShock Infinite. That's what kind of was the impetus to us getting here. I've played through it before.
Yeah.
I wanted it, like I said last time when I recommended it, I wanted to play through it just to kind of feel it out and kind of think through the story again. But it takes me, I think I'm 5 hours in and I'm maybe 3/4 or less the way through the game. I still have a lot to go, and the game will get increasingly harder as I go. So it means it's probably going to take me another 5 hours to get through the rest of it. So then what? So it's a very inefficient means of telling a story. So why would someone tell a story with a video game? What is a video game? Why
video game?
Yeah, why video game? Yeah, there we go.
Because I think that, like, I'm not gonna say that like every video game does a great job of this, but I think like what we're getting at, like with BioShock, is that what you get is a first-person narrative. Obviously, it's a first-person shooter, so it's alike a first-person narrative where you're in the shoes of a character. You're seeing the world through their eyes, but it also allows you the ability to have some wiggle room more than like a book. Allows you to impact the story a little bit, or gives you the illusion of impacting the story. So it creates a connection between you and the game, a connection to the actions of the character that you're playing as, and what's going to happen to the character in a more I guess more visceral way than necessarily reading a first person book. Because literally you're seeing the hands of the person in BioShock's case, because there's other story games that are different in gameplay, but I'd see the benefit in just the fact that you get to walk through another person's shoes and interact with a world that's been designed by a creator. But
because I guess I struggle sometimes with so I'm very glad that it's being turned into a movie, because this is the kind of story that is really deep and has a lot to consider in it, and that I would enjoy considering that in the context of like a movie, as opposed to the inefficient,
because you can get it
10
quick.
hours. You can pack it into one. Yeah. If it's done well, of course. I mean, they always could blow this whole thing and it not be a very good movie.
Yeah.
But if they're able to pack in some of those ideas from Infinite, especially, then I think that there would be there could be a really interesting exploration of these ideas in film.
Yeah.
But that with the game, I think something that is both good and not good, or rather a function of the mechanics, is that on one hand, the mechanics are there to kind of give you something to do as the story goes forward. Yeah. And the mechanics become the thing that are the most interesting. Like, so like I talked about last time, the rail system of traveling between places up in the sky, like it's just so much fun.
Yeah. You get this crazy roller coaster, like hook arm thing that you can ride all those rails with.
Yeah. It's fun.
You punch people with the,
you've got this
too.
Yeah, you've got this rail hook that you can jump up onto these roller coaster style rails and just travel around the area, whatever part of the map you're in. You can kind of travel around.
You can and then shoot while flying.
Yeah, you're shooting. So you jump and attack and punch people with your grappling arm thing. So there's a lot of fun to the mechanic. There's a lot of things that are fun to do with the game. But that's the kind of
I would say that, like, I think for video games, I think obviously the point of a video game is to just, it's like playing a game, is to enjoy it. And it's a way to enjoy something more so than I would argue for film or for like reading a book.
Yeah,
it's true. It's definitely, it's a lot more enjoyment based than those things.
That's true.
But that's why I think there are some video games that transcend that, and then produce these worlds and these stories that you get to walk through, like in this game and like The Last of Us and God of War and whatever number of games that maybe we'll talk about in the future, is just that they allow you to walk through just a beautiful story. Yeah. In an enjoyable way. Yeah. And so it's almost like it's
right. Well, it's like they layered on something more to it. That, okay, it was a good game, it was fun to play, but they gave me a reason for enjoying the game that was a depth and a lore that
you
really
walk away
made me
thinking
want to
about
enjoy.
it.
Yeah, right. So I think, yeah, because BioShock in that way, I guess we can get on to the actual kind of story dimensions, is that what made me want to come back to it is that it begins with a baptism. You have to be baptized as you're going into Colombia that first time, and there's no way around it. Like, you have to. I read an interesting story about a guy who returned the game to Steam. He sent a letter to Valve to get his game refunded because he came to the baptism, and he said, I'm a Christian, and the baptism of the Holy Spirit is central to my religion. So I'm guessing he's maybe more Pentecostal or charismatic, perhaps, using that kind of terminology. Yeah. But then he felt it was like blasphemous for him to take the baptism in the game, and so he returned the game. So like there's that was just an interesting side note that I'm like, okay, that's a very interesting take on being baptized in a video game.
Yeah.
But so you're baptized in the video game. You don't have the choice. You move on. There's a lot of talk of religion, and then at the end, you're baptized again. So. The story. So we should, I guess, finish the story for people who are not
waiting
not
for
played,
that,
or if they are. But then as you go through the story, you end up discovering that you are actually Elizabeth's father, and that
even though you're the same age, basically, you're a little bit older than her, but
you're not. You wouldn't think you were her father.
Yeah,
but then you turn out to be her father. You are. Because of this multidimensional multiverse.
Yeah, there's these characters called the Latesse twins.
Yeah.
Been pioneering that dimension warping technology in the world. And they kind of mess with things, and they're the reason why you and Elizabeth are meeting at that time. But yeah.
So then as you end up going through it, you end up discovering that you are also a Comstock.
Yep.
That you that back in the day there was a baptism.
Yep.
And you had taken part in the massacre that had occurred in
Wounded Knee.
The Wounded Knee massacre. Yeah. So you've killed a bunch of innocents and
turned to drinking and
you're
down that spiral.
Yeah, so you're depressed, you turn to drinking, and are just a drunken no-gooder.
Yeah.
And then there comes a time where a preacher offered you baptism and you rejected it. You turned away from it because you say baptism isn't just going to easily wipe away this sin. You don't know what I've done. But then in other worlds, since there are multi-dimensional worlds, in other worlds, you took the baptism and you took the offer of forgiveness by having your sins washed away in the water, and you became Zachary Comstock. You became the one who then tries to enforce goodness and ends up just inflicting pain on people. And then on the other hand, in one of the worlds, you are the leader of the Vox Populi. You're the martyr. You're like the champion of them. And so I think that what I find the most compelling about the story, what I find really interesting is that idea. And this is something that I read from the Christ in Pop Culture magazine a long time ago. I'd read this and was able to go find it again.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting take that the offer of baptism, the way it's presented to DeWitt the first time when you see it, it is a cheap grace baptism. It's just the go through the rote of doing this, and the water is what washes away your sins. It's not the heart. It's not God. It's not attaching it to any gospel. It's this action, believing that this action wipes away the sin is enough.
Yeah.
And so on one hand, Booker's right to turn it away, to say, I've done things that are too bad for that to wash away my sins.
Yeah.
And he turns away, but then he has to go atone for his own sin because he doesn't have atonement. So the only way for him to atone is either to distract himself from it by being the drunk or to lead a revolt by the Vox Populi, and try to stick it to the bad guy. On the other hand, he takes the baptism. He accepts cheap grace. And what does he do? He tries to inflict cheap grace on everybody. And it's horrible, right? Because there is no actual grounds for the forgiveness. It's just it's an empty act that doesn't provide forgiveness. And in a world without that kind of forgiveness, you get the elite class who are going to demand that everyone be what they want them to be. And then you've got the men of the people who are just going to be the populist uprising and destroy things that way, which is not unlike the situation that we see unfolding in our country right now. So there's some really profound, like there's a lot of profound stuff happening there that it rewards digging into. You could play through the whole game and just enjoy the mechanic.
Yeah. Just like, that was a fun shooting game.
Yeah. And enjoy the like back and forth with him and Elizabeth and with the different characters you come across. Yeah. And not really pay attention to that, but you can pay attention to it and find it rewarded more.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, I definitely like you're saying, it rewards just kind of showing like this drastic, like the ends of these two ideas, the ends of this God of the people and the ends of this like this horribly heretical patriotism, where America becomes a god and it's what you worship, and you worship the founding fathers. And it shows these like really exaggerated, and you're like, these are fantastic ideas. They're not like anything achievable, but like you're saying, like even today we can see that movement and that divergence even among our Christian brothers, who we see people being treated horribly by a system, and we could come up and through that, or we can come up and through this idea that America is this holy nation that needs saving through a grand prophet and something other than Christ, which is what the people in Colombia wanted. They wanted a savior to save them from their current circumstance in America and to whisk them away to this place in the sky, which is, as a Christian, like we're not going to have that in this life. And so like that's the idea, is like is to fight for Christians, to fight that idea that like our American citizenship is above our heavenly citizenship, and like to the lengths that will go, and that's the cheap faith of like hanging on to something that isn't Christ, that you hope will save you. Yeah. And so like I think you can get some benefit from looking at that, even just knowing that it was made a while ago, but looking at where we're at today, and there's a lot of people who are losing faith because their faith was not in Christ. Their faith was in how Christianity was tied into what being an American was. And so that's no longer really the case, like where that's a vital part of being an American is being a Christian. And I just think it speaks to today a little bit.
It explores a lot of those ideas really well.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. But something that that came to mind about like the video games, one of the things that I find when it works, when this happens, it's my favorite. And that is when the mechanic of the game assists in the storytelling, so that like the storytelling gets into your bones. And I don't know that I would say BioShock does this incredibly well, or not in the kind of way that I ever felt it. But that there was one game I played called The Brothers, or maybe it's just called Brothers, but it was a game on the iPhone. I think you can get it on Steam now. But it's these two brothers. Their dad is their mother drowned a while ago, and the younger brother was with the mom when she drowned, so he's terrified of water. And then you've got the father who gets ill, and the medicine person comes and tries to heal him, but they need a leaf from this, or a fruit from this tree, and it's kind of like the tree of life. I mean, it's a huge, gigantic tree. So they've got to go on this quest, and they go through all these beautiful worlds. It was a really fun game. You've got two different characters. One thumbstick controls one the other, and they both have different strengths and abilities. Obviously, the bigger brother is stronger. The younger brother is smaller, so he can get into places. And so you have to work together with these two brothers the whole way through this game. You get down to the end of it, and then your brother dies. So he's killed right before you get to the tree. And so and then they make you bury your brother, and they don't let you do it quickly. Like you have to you dig for a little while, and you drag your brother's body into the grave, and then you bury him. That makes you feel it. Yeah. And then you're headed back, there's this big there's maybe a eagle or something that flies you most of the way back, but then you've got to get up through your village and on up to your dad.
Yeah.
Well, you come to the water for the first time, and it's the first time you hit an obstacle that you always needed your brother for, right?
Yeah.
So you always have your brother there to get to you right on his back through water, because you're terrified of water, and you've fallen into water a couple times in the story, and and then you're here, and suddenly as the gamer, you're like, what do I do without him, right? And he's already made you like feel the moment, and then it demands that you as the gamer are struggling with the moment to figure out how to do something without your brother. And the mechanic matching the story was so perfect. Like, it was so good. It moved me so much. And so I think that that's where gaming can do something that other storytelling medium cannot. They're definitely not efficient, but they have that ability to kind of start tying some of those mechanics in so that, like you said, it's more visceral.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're doing action towards what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, so God of War opens with like a very similar thing where like you're like chopping down the trees to like burn, like to create a funeral pyre for your wife, and you don't realize that. And you're like chopping the trees down, and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And he's like getting all angry, and you come back to the place, and then you set it up, and you're like, oh, this is a pyre. And then you put her on there, and you have to like light it and watch it like happen. And you're like, man. But I mean, BioShock kind of does that too with when you lose Ellie in the end. And I think that kind of ties us towards the end of the story in terms of what's going on with Ellie, where you eventually come up and kill Comstock because he offers you to wash in the water again. And he's like, I know you're going to kill me at this point. Like, this is all led up to this. Basically, everything's going to go downhill from here. I need to die for this to go where it needs to go. And so you kill Comstock, and it gets revealed to Ellie that you are Comstock. And is it there that she realizes that you're Comstock too?
I think so.
That's actually where you realize that you're Comstock. Is when you like look at the water and you're like, oh crap, this isn't good. And then she kind of freaks out and starts running away, and then you lose her, and then you wake up in this horrible reality of and you don't know what time it is, how long it's been, but you know that you've been missing Ellie for a long time, or for a short time. To you it seems like a short time, but then you go through this horrible world where like everyone's kind of manic and depraved, and it's all like black and hushed tones, and it's very kind of scary. And then you eventually find her, and you realize she's like, that was 60 years ago. Yeah. And she's like all old, and you're like, oh, what the heck's happened? And she like opens up the door, and she shows that she took over for Comstock, and she's like bombing the earth below and fulfilling the prophecy that she would purge the sinful world below and kind of bring them up out of
bring in the apocalypse essentially on her own.
And so it kind of, you're like, what? And so mechanically you're having to deal with fights without her again, and her like picking up like health potions for you and finding ammunition for you. So now you're struggling to get ammunition, you're struggling to get all these things as you're like trying to make your way towards her. And so it does a very similar thing in that. But
it's fun. I enjoy these things. I enjoy when there's that kind of connection. I think that's one of the things that's one of the ways storytelling can really help us or like confront us, is when it leads us to expect something and then doesn't give it to us, when it withholds the thing that we expect. A good example of this, and maybe we should do a episode on the Bourne movies, because I love the Bourne series, and I've read the books, and the comparisons I would love to do a talk about like adaptation of books. So maybe one day in the future
we'll do that. There's a lot to talk about there.
In the Bourne books, total spoiler here, go read the books if you want to read the books. In the Bourne books, though, the last it starts with there's this assassin named Carlos who's trying to kill him, and that's the whole of the story in the book 1. And then book 3, we come back. Jason is grown up. He actually marries Marie. Marie does not die like in the movies, and he's got kids with her. And then Carlos is back, and what turns out, Carlos is dying, and his last like mission is to kill Bourne, and so he's coming back after him. And so Jason's trying to protect his family and kind of settle the score once and for all. And so the whole time, dude, you hate Carlos so much.
I love these moments.
And you are just like,
Yeah.
you want to kill this guy. And there are so many moments where Jason gets so close and Jason is just not fast enough, not strong enough, not clever enough to beat Carlos. And Carlos is always just like 1 inch ahead of him. And then it comes to the end and they're in this Russian training facility and Jason has like befriended this one guard and is talking to him and basically telling him, dude, get out, you know, get away from all this life. Get out, don't give yourself to war and to fighting. Like, don't let that become you, because he's like wearing underneath that kind of burden himself. Anyway, so he goes and he's fighting Carlos and you're like, okay, this has to be, I mean, this is the last time we're going to see him. Dude. I'm almost through the book. Yeah. And then Carlos gets away. But then because Jason befriended this dude, the dude saw what was going on and he flooded one of the escape tunnels that Carlos was in and drowned Carlos. And so you want that catharsis of like squeezing the life out of Carlos. And then you don't get it. And you realize that like you have been trying to be like Carlos, and that's what Bourne has been trying to do. And Bourne isn't Carlos, and he's not as good. And what makes Carlos such a good assassin is that he is heartless. Yeah. What makes Jason such a good person is that he has a heart. Yeah. And had it not been for him being human with one of these guys, then Carlos would have still made it. And it was Jason's humanity and his drive to love and care for his wife and kids, and to do that, like actually. And because I was wanting that catharsis of like squeezing his neck so much, and then it didn't come, it showed me that I was more like Carlos, and I needed to be more like Bourne. Yeah. Right. Like, and so that then the story itself has that way of flipping the expectation and making and revealing who you are, you know, and telling you something about yourself. Yeah. So I love it when like that happens in the video games, when there's, you know, you begin to rely on someone or some mechanic, and then you realize that you've just you know, that in the story you've become too attached or detached or whatever. But you're just doing everything mechanically to get to that character, and just being ruthless. Yeah, really fast and efficient. It happens in so many video games where you're having to go after somebody, and it's like clock's ticking, and you're like, I got to get to this person. Right. Just using all the skills that you've learned to like get through all of them and be really heartless and just like, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's BioShock Infinite. Go play it. It's a good one. Fun game. Yeah. So, beautifully created. Yeah, it's a beautiful world to be a part of. A lot of fun stuff. A lot of cool game creepy mechanics stuff. And, some very creepy things. Very creepy things. My kids have watched me play it a little bit. Yeah. And there have been a couple of moments where they're like, you know, jump back. I forgot about the ghost thing in the middle of the game too. There's the ghost of the mother comes out. That was freaky. I wasn't expecting that. And then my wife was like, what are you playing? She's hearing like a shrieking woman in the background. Yeah. It's fun. But yeah, it's to the wall with just... It's got everything. It throws everything at it. Yeah, but it's got multiverse. It's got time travel. It has revivalist preachers. Big political ideas. Yeah. It crams it all in there. It's got it all in there, and it works. So go check it out. Yeah. BioShock Infinite. This is just a big recommendation to go play the game. Big old recommendation. Yep. And that's what we do here on Foxfire. We recommend the cool games, the cool movies, and only stuff the like coolest. That. So if you've got a game or a movie that you want us to talk about, we'd be glad to talk about them and to think about them. If you've got a question about movies, we can certainly Google an answer for you. Maybe even provide some original commentary. Original? We're not that good yet. Yeah. We'll get there. Season 20. Season 20. Stick around, folks. Original content. We'll be here longer than season 20. Hold out. Until now, we're holding the coattails of Google. Exactly. One day we'll catch up. So anyway, all right. Well, this has been another episode of Foxfire Farmhouse. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah. We're gonna go stoke the fire and break open the door so that we can get out of here. Yeah. Hopefully we can get out of here. That crazy lady's looking like she's gonna eat us. I think she's got frostbite in her toes. Yeah. See you guys. Anyway, bye.